very honored to be here tonight, not only because we're honoring my very dear friend John with the Humanitarian Award, but also to celebrate the good work of the Anti-Defamation League and the past recipients of this very prestigious award. When John called me about this event and his great honor, my first thought was, gosh, are we getting old? Which is different than, gosh, are we getting old, right? This is, gosh, this is a question, and of course John's answer was, no, we're not. Don't go there. But of course, age is always better than the alternative, and one of the many benefits of age is how the world gets smaller. And I'm very grateful that so many of John's friends and professional colleagues and family are here tonight to make our world tonight smaller and more intimate. I've known John personally, professionally, for over 30 years. And the Rubloff Award recognizes individuals in the real estate industry who demonstrate exceptional leadership and commitment to both business and philanthropy. And John is definitely someone who personifies in every aspect of his life the qualities that the ADL honors. In business, through civic and charitable engagement, and within the community. But before I get to John's accomplishments, I'd like to add my gratitude for the steady hands that have guided the ADL through many years. The ADL's tireless and courageous dedication to the cause is unwavering and remarkable. I'm sure every generation feels the same, but the ADL's vigilance is needed now more than ever. The ADL never grows weary, and we, all of us, are the beneficiaries of its dedication to its great mission. And as the Imagine video so poignantly expresses, imagine us all living and working in a world where fair treatment prevails and differences are embraced. Every generation endures a time of pivotal change, and history will tell us whether we are now in the midst of one. But the ADL will always be there to remind us that words matter, and hateful words and ignorant speech are unacceptable and wrong. The last point I'll make about the ADL is how I was introduced to the ADL many years ago, almost 30 years ago, frankly, when John and I met. And it was through a former colleague and mentor of mine, Tom Hamburger, who I understand is not here tonight, but folks here that are members of the ADL will vouch for Tom. He's a terrific guy. And John and I, the deal we met on was probably a deal that we worked on with Tom. So in some respects, Tom's been a mentor to John as well. And I also wanted to let the crowd know that the best piece of advice I ever got from Tom as a mentor was that you could actually order the chopped salad at the Standard Club without tongue. But I also never forget that he didn't tell me that the first time I ordered the chopped salad. So now let's talk about John. As I mentioned earlier, John and I worked together on a deal in the late 80s and have worked together ever since. It was either a lease for our law firm or it was John's first office building development. But whatever it was, I sensed that I was meeting someone with terrific drive and energy. Someone with a plan, someone who saw victory in the journey, someone I could learn from, someone I could trust, and someone I could admire. John's professional accomplishments are well known and would fill volumes, but I'm going to focus more on his approach to business, his appetite for a life well lived, and his devotion to family. John's a person that cherishes the journey. I remember an early deal when I first heard John use that expression, and it made sense to me. So much of the victory in life is the opportunity to engage and learn. Some people are who they are and they never change, but John changes. John gets better every day because he understands that every step along the path provides an opportunity to learn. Business people aren't generally holistic, but John is holistic. He takes a long view and he's confident. And maybe most importantly, he builds trust. John develops deep and lasting professional relationships with his many collaborators. My colleagues, many of whom are here tonight, are certainly examples of that, but this room is full of examples. Folks from Getty's, Quadrum, Walton Street, Getch Partners, and many more. We've all come to look forward to a call from John when he says, hey, let's put the band back together. I've got another deal. And that's when the fun really starts. I think of the kinds of projects that John pursues, the ones he's really mastered, and they're tributes to his essential traits. Hard-charging, confident, smart, resilient, persevering, focused, flexible, decisive, reasonable, aggressive but generous, and never, ever diverting his eyes from the big picture. John's a risk taker, but a disciplined risk taker who capitalizes on well-considered risk and seizes opportunity. And I'm going to steal a story that I heard from Seth Schumer, who's here from Quadrum, who said to John, and I'm paraphrasing, on a ski trip, "Gosh, I wish John would turn a little bit more when he skis." I want to share with you 3 examples of projects that reflect John's skills that are right here in Chicago. There's the Godfrey Chicago project, and this project had a little bit of everything: a half-built hotel wrapped in plastic, a loan in foreclosure, contractors who hadn't been paid. But John and his team saw opportunity and turned that nightmare into one of the hottest destination hotels and open spaces the city nightlife has ever seen. There's also the Langham Hotel, which is in the former IBM building, an iconic expression of Mies van der Rohe design. It was falling behind in its competition as an office building, but under John's tutelage, the IBM building became the youngest building in Chicago to be landmarked, and the bottom floors became, despite being developed in the Great Recession, the acknowledged #1 luxury hotel in Chicago. And if you haven't been there, you really must go. Then there's the London House. And this is a great example. All right. I didn't think it had that many rooms, but apparently it does. It's a great example of a project that John is particularly good at, taking a building that's at the end of its rope, but that has potential, and transforming it into something special, and at the same time preserving an iconic piece of the Chicago skyline and its deep architectural heritage. John's professional life is based on finding opportunities for buildings to become more than they are, to make things better. And as you can see from his bio, his deep and generous civic and charitable commitments do the same. Beneficiaries of his commitment are many: the Art Institute, the Field Museum, Holocaust Museum, and more. In this, he takes cues not only from his own upbringing, but also from those community-minded Chicago stalwarts that came before. His generosity and his time and financial support embody the qualities of the Rubloff Award. Whether it's time dedicated to the great civic institutions in the city or time mentoring the city's young entrepreneurs, John's legacy will be enduring. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about John and his family. I was reminded the other day that in an early opening of some sort, John was anxious for me to meet his folks who are here tonight, and I was very fortunate to hook up with them again tonight. It's been a long time since we were able to say hello. But it struck me at the time that only someone who was very grounded would want to introduce other people to his folks, and I'm still grateful for that. And then there's Amanda and Pierce and Preston. Did you guys bring dates tonight? I'm married, I have 2 children myself, and I know how precious family is. And I also remember how before John and Amanda had Pierce and Preston, John would always ask me how my daughters were, and he never seemed anxious for me to be done telling him. And I also remember that right after we had our first daughter, we had a picture of her in an overstuffed snowsuit, and she was outside looking in and kissing the window. And I had a bunch of, I sent one to John, and John put it up on his bulletin board. It might still be in your office as far as I know, yeah. So anyways, it's a testament to his deep appreciation of family. His devotion to family and to the journey of raising a family is unmatched, and I deeply admire his ability to balance career and family, even though sometimes they collide. And John, again, another story, you used to tell me that every time you were on the phone, one of the boys would say, "Are you talking to Larry?" Right? Maybe you can share that story. So anyways, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. I'm fortunate in my life and my career to have a collaborator like John, to have a friend like John, to have a role model for all of us like John, whose legacy will definitely be a life well lived. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating John Rutledge, this year's recipient of the ADL's Arthur Rubloff Humanitarian Award.
Whew. Wow. That's a tough act to follow. Can you hear me all right? Thank you, Larry. Thank you. I'll do my best here. Just an FYI. Getting up and speaking in front of people is has always been very easy for me. But getting up in front and speaking in front of people without getting emotional, that's tricky. So I'll do my best. Larry, thank you so much. Those thoughts are incredible. I couldn't possibly name all the people that I want to thank tonight, but I am going to touch on a few. I want to thank Lonnie and Shoshana and Matt and the entire ADL team. The ADL is working toward a world without discrimination, bigotry, and hate. I'm proud to associate myself with your efforts and with this wonderful organization. I also want to thank my longtime friend Steve Joseph, who introduced the ADL to me when they reached out. It's really special to see you, Steve. We worked together many years ago. Wes Smedley. West St. Chrysostom's Episcopal Church and Day School have been such an important part of our family's lives. Our kids went to preschool there. My son Pierce completed his confirmation there last year. Preston's in confirmation class now. Amanda teaches Sunday school there, and we love going every Sunday, almost every Sunday. I wish I could say it was every Sunday. You've taken such a special place for us, Wes, both the church and the day school, and made it even more so with your energy, your enthusiasm, and your inclusiveness. And Larry, my lead counsel and dear friend for 30 years. I remember you were right out of law school. I was right out of undergrad. I was a leasing agent at 10 South LaSalle. I think I called on you and Tom Homburger to try to move you to the top floors of 10 South LaSalle at the time. I was not successful, by the way, in convincing them to move there. We did get somebody else to move there. And I think Larry is still at 3 First National Plaza 30 years later. So at least nobody got him to move. But Larry and I became pals, and who would have guessed that phone call would emerge over time to be a 30-year close friendship and collaboration. And by the way, Larry, thank you also for getting such good concert tickets over the years. One of the benefits of having Larry as a lawyer was that they always got really good tickets to good shows at Ravinia and United Center, and we managed to partake. Good fun. Also want to thank my dear friend Roger Hill, another co-chair of tonight's event. He and I have served on the auxiliary board of the Art Institute for 25 years. I know Jenny Ames is here with us. We all met there many years ago. And I remember when we brought in his team to help us in the first hotel that we bought, the Sheraton North Shore up in Northbrook. And he's been a frequent collaborator, design partner, and oftentimes investor and great friend. So thank you. And here we go. Take a little break here. You ready? Thank you to Amanda. Boy, you've been my best friend for 30 years. I'm really glad I asked our mutual friend who that beautiful girl in the corner was. That was in Ann Arbor 30 years ago. I had to be persistent, by the way. It took me a little time. I remember calling her after my first date, and I said, Amanda, it's John, John Rutledge. I walked you home the other night after getting to know you a little bit. And she said, I'm sorry, John? And I said, John Rutledge. You know, I walked you home the other night. She said, well, I'm really busy. I've got a whole bunch of friends here tonight. And I'm like, wow. I said, you know, I didn't necessarily think I was God's gift to the world, but I thought I at least left some impression. Thankfully, I called and followed up again, and I took her traying. I took her tobogganing in the Arboretum, and that began to make some inroads. And then I took her tandem bike riding in Ann Arbor. And then when a couple of my fraternity brothers and I, Dave Juneau and Dave Wright, who were both here, were traveling through Europe after graduation, Somehow we managed to be in Venice the exact same weekend that Amanda was going to be there. And I remember thinking, you know, guys, I love you, but I'm going to lose you guys, and I'm going to go hang out with Amanda. So sure enough, I took off on my old pals. I said, I'll see you back home. To our sons, Pierce and Preston, I couldn't be more proud to be your father. You work hard in all your important academics. You practice and you play hard in your sports. You're learning self-discipline. You have a growth mentality. You've got positive attitudes and energy. And more than anything, I'm proud that you're honest, purposeful, and compassionate young people. You're strong, but not tough. You're gentle, but not weak. You stand up for yourself and for others. We're a little pack. We love doing everything together. Your mom and I love sharing life's adventures with you and look forward to continuing our wonderful journey over the many years. My sister Kimberly, my mom and dad, Dick and Betsy, Sandy and Jim Applegate, my wonderful in-laws, who I've known for many moons now, and my brother Dwight on the West Coast, who couldn't be here, and Amanda's sister Susan and son Clyde. Thank you, your family, you're everything to me. I remember when I met Amanda's mom for the first time, we were out at Amanda's cottage, and we came in on the boat on the pier, and I said, "Is that your mom at the end of the pier there? She's a knockout." Still is. And so, you know, not that Amanda needed to pass the mom test, but she did. Thank you to my Oxford Capital Group and Oxford Hotels and Resorts teammates. As I said over the years, we have a simple and humble goal. All we're trying to do is take over the world. No, I say that, of course, facetiously. We try to promote a culture of an innovation. We try to be nimble, entrepreneurial, and creative, and view almost anything as being possible. It's gratifying to grow and create great projects together, and to be the best we can be, and to face the biggest challenges that we can. And thank you also to my other co-chairs in making this event, and thank you so much to my friends, colleagues, and professional collaborators. I prize and appreciate your friendship and support over so many years. Everybody in this room, can't thank you enough. You know, it's hard to believe. I sort of find myself saying, wow, it's hard to believe. I feel honored, humbled, and profoundly undeserving to receive an award with Humanitarian. I think some of my high school and Lake Geneva and Michigan friends are saying, hey, John's a pretty good guy, but Humanitarian? My God. Feels like a stretch. Well, guys, it feels like a stretch to me, too, believe me. It's a big word. When I think of Humanitarian, I think of Mother Teresa or Nelson Mandela, or for that matter, Bill Gates or Andrew Carnegie. God knows I'm not in any of their league. With that said, as I've chased my goals and dreams, I've tried to be a good soul in the world. We'll continue to do so. I will always say that life is a journey, as Larry said. Your professional career is part of that journey. You never really arrive. It's more like you're in a continual process of becoming. You set goals, you work hard to try to achieve them, and then you set new goals, and you work hard to achieve those. And if anything, this award will prompt me to set an even higher bar in that journey. By the way, I never knew Arthur Rubloff. I remember coming out of college in 1985 and remember him as a larger-than-life figure in business, civic, and philanthropic worlds. As many of you likely know, he made significant contributions, including coining the Magnificent Mile for North Michigan Avenue. Equally compelling to me then and now was his philanthropic work. That combination of professional accomplishment, civic engagement, and profound generosity really intrigued me. When he died, I remember reading his obituary and thinking, wow, that's a big life, a really, really big, unique life he lived. From my early years, I always aspired to live an accomplished, rich, and full, multidimensional life. And I want to say a few things about that tonight. My role models have always been those people who are professionally successful, civically engaged, but who have a strong family life. And across those dimensions, I've tried to do well and do good while doing well. It starts with family. I have two great parents. I always say my dad is like Andy Griffith with an Ivy League degree. Son of an Episcopalian minister, an Eagle Scout, president of his fraternity. After college and before he got into the business world, he was a naval officer on the admiral's staff at Pearl Harbor after the war. Pearl Harbor Day yesterday made me think of my dad. Professionally successful, always humble, highly ethical, civically engaged, a great father, and always a kind and supportive husband to my mother. He's always modeled servant leadership in everything he's done with his family, his companies, his civic, his church. I loved trout fishing with him as a kid, skiing with him, sailing with him. He's been a great dad. And my mom, yeah. And my mother, also Ivy League educated with a master's degree. There weren't many women going to the Ivy League in the 50s. There weren't many women getting their master's degree. My mother, disciplined, hardworking, deeply compassionate. She was a professional educator who became basically my personal tutor and my siblings, and we all benefited from that. She was always very inclusive, always such a lady, plays the piano beautifully, always compassionate and kind toward people from all walks of life. And I always had great affection for her, but always great respect. Yeah. My parents' never-ending love and support made me feel like I could do practically anything. In fact, they gave me more confidence in myself than I clearly deserved. They made me feel like I had more ability than I actually had. And because of that, I probably overachieved. Both of my parents taught me to work hard, to passionately pursue my goals, while always being honest, fair, and empathetic toward others. Those are the values Amanda and I want to pass down to our two sons. So when they go out into the world, they will work hard, create their own success, live purposeful, productive, and multidimensional lives of their own, while always treating others with kindness and compassion and inclusiveness. My definition of a full life also comes with a challenging professional life. Part of the reason I got into business and real estate is because it's a place where you can run far and run fast. I like the inherent adventure of entrepreneurialism and the sense of accomplishment of achieving big goals. Coming out of college, I was chomping at the bit, and I felt like a racehorse wanting to get out of the gates. I had some early successes, but then I also had an early setback. I was a partner in an office building that didn't work. It was humbling, it was frustrating. But I remember saying to Amanda, life is long, you've got to regroup, life has setbacks, and you got to step up and you got to forge ahead. So I said, honey, I think we're going to take a trip around the world. And we did. We went skydiving in New Zealand, we dove the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, we trekked the jungles of Thailand, we safaried in Africa. We did all sorts of great things. We stayed in little, simple hostels in New Zealand and Australia. We stayed at some nice hotels, too. It was an incredible experience. I went back to business school. I wrote a business plan on acquiring and repositioning hotels, tied in with my old friend Ed Doherty, began looking at deals, and managed to execute on that plan locally, regionally, nationally, and even a little internationally. And through a lot of hard work, some calculated risk-taking, and certainly some luck, I managed to achieve some professional success. For our company, we've tried to instill a culture of positivity, enthusiasm, and excellence with people from all kinds of backgrounds, every race and every color and religion, and you name it, who all have their own strengths, their own unique strengths. Together, we challenge each other and ourselves to reach for the limits of our capacity. As a team, we get in the foxhole together. We figure out a way to reach our collective goals. If we have a secret sauce, it's we're collaborative and inclusive. We try to be creative, along with always aspiring to be as good as we can be and feeling like we can achieve almost anything. Another aspect of a full multidimensional life for me comes through contributing to the larger societal ecosystem. I've always taken great satisfaction in creating jobs, generating tax revenues, and being a part of the economic dynamism that makes the American system so special. We like to develop high-quality projects, and we like to be catalysts for helping transform areas in major cities around the country that are in transition, whether it be on the east side of Manhattan, the downtown crossing district of Boston, the Hollywood submarket of Los Angeles, or any number of submarkets here in Chicago. Contributing to that larger society is part of what makes our work so gratifying. Again, trying to do good while doing well. And as I've managed to have some financial success, I've tried to sprinkle some of my good fortune around to various worthy causes. In my view, that's another important part of a full multidimensional life. I've always been intrigued by Dr. Martin Luther King's quote, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" There's so many great organizations doing important work, but something that's particularly close to my heart is motivating and helping kids and adults get the opportunity to do justice to their God-given abilities, to create their own shared success and earn success and achieve their own dreams. That's one of many areas that I feel a special affinity with ADL's mission. The ADL strives to create a world without hate, not just here in Chicago, but around the world. For more than 100 years, the ADL has been building up ideals of justice and fair treatment for all. And today, the ADL continues the important work through educating young people, defending democratic ideals, and protecting the civil rights of all people. ADL's work helps more people live out their own rich lives, no matter what their backgrounds. And in my own small way, I hope through my personal and professional life that I can further help that cause. I thought I'd leave you with the words of a true humanitarian, Nelson Mandela. He lived a life of courage and persistence, even in the face of bigotry and prejudice. In his autobiography, he wrote, "There is no passion in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you're capable of living." Every day, the ADL works to make sure people around the world can live their full life, free from prejudice and hate, and to self-actualize and to live to their potential. I'm going to work with more motivation than ever to contribute to that noble mission and try to live that life that's deserving of this award. And I hope all of us here will leave tonight with a renewed spirit to work hard, to do well, and to do good, and to live the full life we are capable of living. Thank you.